You're listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 67, our Deep Purple Collections. And coming to you from the overheated suburbs of Chicago, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from suburbs of Providence, John, Disappearing Cellphone Matola.
Disappearing Cellphone.
Yeah, I kind of did a little take on the Martin Birch Disappearing Armchair.
Oh, there you go. Disappearing cell phone. Do you lose your cell phone a lot?
Well, there's this really disturbing trend with only me lately is that I keep forgetting my damn phone in the car, which I never do because like I always have it on. Like it's the first thing that I remember every time. And like I have quite frequently been exiting my car and like walking into work, go into my house, and then I just look around after I carry everything. I'm like, shit. And then I turn around and go all the way out, and there it is in the holder. And I don't know why, but I'm becoming that person.
That person being an old person.
Yeah, that guy that forgets his phone in the car. So it's annoying.
Kind of
to
a
me
scary
anyway.
feeling when you think about it. Like, oh no, I hope somebody didn't come in and steal it from my car. And they never did, usually.
Yeah, I know. Well, I used to think that, and then I'm just like, iPhones are so common right now. Who the hell wants to steal them?
Well, also, if you know anything, if you can't do anything with a phone that's not, if it's locked, there's nothing you can do with it. It's a brick.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can't do anything at all.
Use it as a weapon, I guess, but.
Yep. Yeah, I had there was a work phone I had a while back that I forgot what happened. I tried to reset it or something, and then it wanted to know my iTunes password or whatever, but I don't have one. I don't remember. I must have made a fake one for work so that I could use this for work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I couldn't remember it. So I'm just like, this is just a brick now. I can't do anything with it. So it's just in the drawer in my office, turned off, and I'll never use it again.
Oh, well.
So if you want to support our wonderful show, you can do so by becoming a patron on Patreon. As little as $1 a month, or you can use PayPal if you want to create a tax haven and be free of the Patreon taxes, like some of our friends have done. You can become a PayPal supporter. So that's a great way to
start your own little shell company there.
Exactly. Hey, we won't say anything.
Yeah, we won't tell.
We won't disclose to the IRS that you spent $12 this year on our show.
The Deep Purple Podcast won't tell.
Exactly. Yeah. We will keep all your tax secrets. We're not involved. But you can also leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. But first, speaking of our patrons, coming in at the $20 Shades of Deep Pockets tier, Ryan M. At the $15 Highball Shooter tier, Steve Seaborg of NameOnAnything.com and AllTheWorldIsStage.net, who is coming to us from the PayPal tax-free haven. The shell company in the Virgin Islands that people do that, or
the Cayman Islands?
The Cayman Islands. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. The turn it up to $11 tier. We have Alan, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. The first episode with Alan came out the other day, and he commented that he loved his nickname. I was like, oh, good, because I've probably done 4 more episodes saying that. So if you were like, I hate that, stop it, I would have had some editing to do. The $10 No One Came tier. Still no one coming in at that $10 tier. It was once a robust top shelf tier that you couldn't get any higher than that. It's been abandoned by all these high rollers. At the $5 Money Lender tier, we have Clay Wambacher, Greg Sealby, Frank Teelgard Mortensen, Mike Knowles, Jan Yola coming in as another PayPal one-time payment. So I've tried to contact Jan, but I have not gotten any response back. So thank you, Jan, for supporting the show. And then, new patron alert, John Convery, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, sent in a nice little note. Says, I have been listening to you guys for a while now, and I feel like I am lucky to have found people who are even bigger fans than me, who are also fun to listen to. In a strange way, I think my favorite episode was on Captain Beyond because I always just assumed that they were a lame joke. Thanks for showing me that I was wrong. So,
wow.
Great. And we've commented before that similar things that we just like, haha, Captain Beyond, that's probably stupid. And then, you actually listen to it and you're like, wow, this is some great stuff. So
yeah, I feel like we've, if we've turned people on to things like that, changed their attitude or helped, then that's, we've done our job.
Yeah. And we've done that to ourselves as well through various things
exactly.
throughout the episodes where we're like, oh, I guess we need to cover this. And we come away from it really liking it. So that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, thank you, John. At the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier, Peter Gardeau, Ian DeRosier, Mark Roback, and Anton Glaving. And at the $1 made-up name tier, L's Murders, Spacey Noodles, The Hair-Raising Leaky Mausoleum, and Michael Veda. So thank you to all of you. Speaking of Apple Podcasts, we do have a new 5-star review. This one is coming in from Dopefish.
Yeah.
5 stars, says lots of detail, fun listen. Glad to find a podcast that gives a crap about the fiddly details about a band they like in the same way that I do. Great listen if you're at all into Deep Purple beyond Smoke on the Water. Thank you, Dopefish.
Thanks, Dopefish.
You're one Dopefish.
I love that name, Dopefish.
When I saw it was Dopefish, I actually thought it was Scott from Badfish. And I was like,
oh,
did he read us? And I was like, oh, that's funny. And then I read it and I was like, no, it's not Scott.
I wouldn't know, but I mean,
because he does not give a crap about the fiddly details behind Deep Purple. So. Yeah,
I mean, I haven't since that episode, haven't talked to him for a while, but I'm like, he said that he wasn't really the hugest fan of Deep Purple, so it didn't make sense.
No, we always had that. He's like one of those. It's kind of like our feelings on Led Zeppelin. I like them, appreciate them, but just never got super into them the way that he did. And same with Deep Purple for him. Mm-hmm. And then thanks to our brothers at the Deep Dive Podcast Network. First of all, Riot Sabbath Bloody Podcast, huge news. Of course, this news is about a month late by the time you're going to hear this, but he has continued Sabbath Bloody Podcast where he left off, probably over 6 months ago. And now it's Sabbath Bloody Podcast of a Madman. And he's going through year by year into the Ozzy solo era. So
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's so good. So his first episode's up. It's all about 1979, which is kind of the dark days of Ozzy being in between Sabbath and his solo stuff. And really interesting. If you
really the most interesting.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
I'm
super excited because it just kind of popped up on my podcast feed and I saw he changed the logo and I was like, whoa, what's going on? And great episode. Yeah. If you like Rye and liked Sabbath Bloody Podcast, you'll be thrilled because it's the same great style. And then if you are not familiar and you're just really interested in Ozzy, definitely check it out.
Well, I am backed up on my podcast now, but when I saw it, I was like, I cannot wait to listen to his hypnotic and soothing voice tell me about Ozzy from '79.
It's great stuff. So you'll love it. And then
hopefully by the time this episode drops, I'll have heard it.
I should hope so. I hope you're not that far backed up.
No, now I'm just listening to too many podcasts. So
yeah,
like I told you before, I'm kind of cherry picking some episodes. I'm like, no, I'll just skip this one. The topic might not be for me, so I can get to everything. So yeah.
There's no shortage of podcasts out there.
No, there are not.
So that's why we really appreciate everyone that's listening and donating and every other thing, because God, there's certainly no shortage of other podcasts you could be giving your time and money to. So thank you so much.
Heck yeah, but not another Deep Purple podcast.
That's true. No other Deep Purple podcasts to support yet. And then thanks to our other brothers, the Simple Man at Skinner Reconsidered, who's dropping new episodes left and right, which is great. Really back in the fold. And then Terry T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts. Really appreciate the help. And then York Planer, of course, thank you so much for your support and all that you do in correcting all of our stupid mistakes and supporting us in general. So before we get started with the topic at hand, very lucky to have a sponsor with us this week. This sponsor, let the sponsor do all the talking here, or singing, as it were. Here we go.
I'm back in the saddle again, out where a friend is a friend, where the longhorn cattle feed on the lowly Jimson weed. Back in the saddle
All right. I have absolutely no idea what that ad is for.
I thought it was going to be like Outback Steakhouse or something.
It could be. Or wouldn't he would have had, well, we heard him have like that British accent in the last one, or not in the last one, but in the 10-10-2-3-1 or whatever it was. Where he's like, oh, hey, save some money on your low phone calls. Like, I'm sure he would have done like an Australian shrimp on the Barbie type accent.
But listening back to that episode and trying to hear me do impressions was awful. I was trying to do a John Lithgow and it morphed into like Christopher Walken. I'm like, what the hell was I even doing?
I thought your first stab at the John Lithgow, before I even knew what you were doing, when I listened back, I was like, oh, that was actually pretty good. But yeah, the second one was not good.
I should have just quit while I was ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Should have left it at that. It was actually pretty decent. This week we're coming at you with something a little different. This is an idea that John had, which was just to go through our Deep Purple collections. And let me preface it, at least for myself, to say that our collections are not impressive. We're not like huge collectors. I'm not going to bring out like a hermetically sealed copy of Machine Head with all the original signatures on it. I don't personally have anything like that. I don't have anything that's like of any value really to anyone but myself. Probably the most impressive thing I have is like this, as far as value goes, is like the CD of The Mask, like Elements, The Mask. Like, I've looked, somebody was asking me like, oh, where can I get that? It's not on streaming or anything. So I looked, it's like selling on eBay and Amazon for like $125 for the CD, which is absolutely stupid and ridiculous. But apart from that, like, I don't have anything of really any value other than just like, it's something that I got when I was getting into the band, and I've only held on to it because the band means so much to me. And there's a story behind it. Maybe it's nothing that's, I'm sure if you're listening and you're like, I don't want to listen to these guys because I have this, and this, then this is not the episode for you. This is
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to be blown away with how amazing our collections are, you can turn it off right now. But if you just want to hear kind of the stories behind what some of the stuff I have anyway, then keep listening.
Well, yeah, let's talk about it. So collectibles. So just like when I came up with this idea, just like you're saying, Nate, is I don't profess to have the like hermetically sealed, valuable collection either. I mean, anybody that's watching on video that's used to this background can see all the CDs and VHS and toys and everything behind me. And that's all like, I never really collected anything for value. Like, and I mean, that's to preface it. Anybody that collects anything for any reason, I think that it's, you do you know what I mean? If somebody wants to spend a lot of money on something that's sealed and in perfect condition and have it, in a showcase in their house, or, I mean, I know some Kiss collectors, and I've, part of groups where I'm like truly impressed with like signed guitars and stuff that they've gotten from like meet and greets and stuff. And I mean, you can be that level of fan, that's not my level of fandom. Like, the stuff that I have is more sentimental. Like, it's to me, it's only worth what you're willing to pay for it. Like, if I see some really cool mint posters or something, like, you remember you saw the we talked about those ones, you saw the really early Mark II poster set.
Yeah, the ones that Nick sent us.
Yeah. See, now stuff like that I think is really cool. But I mean, if it was something like $1,000, I don't know if I would buy it unless I was like, yeah, I got some cool frames and I have a way to do it in my den or something like that. Maybe like that. But to keep them sealed up in their tubes and stuff like that, it's like hardly seems worth it. So, I mean, really, when I was going through my old collection and pulling out my stuff, I was saying before the show, it looks kind of meager compared to what you would think like an impressive collection would be. And I mean, they're kind of beat up and everything, but I mean, I think that this episode for us is more about the memories attached to it and what it means to us, and just kind of hanging on to these things for the love of them. And that's pretty much it. It's not really collecting things for like I mean, in my early days of collecting stuff, I had like, there were a couple of books that came out, like the Kiss Collectibles Price Guide, like they had, like they have for baseball cards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that really meant something, like, oh, if I have like a, first press of this or something like that, then that'll be awesome. And I mean, it would be if I came across it, but I mean, it's really not a necessity for me. It's like, I don't buy things to have this, like, to amass this wealthy collection and just have the money tied up. And like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to sell it someday.
Right.
Like all this stuff I would rather keep. And I mean, if I happen to have something that somebody's like, oh, that's worth like $500, and that would be cool. But, to me, it's more worth just kind of the sentimental pieces. And plus, I mean, I would bet that all of this stuff is probably out of print, which makes it hard to find. And, just kind of cool in its own way. So I don't know. I just urge anybody that collects anything and just kind of be cool about it, because there's no really right or wrong way to be a collector. Like you were saying before, like we're not gonna impress anybody with our stuff, or I don't like to be like a big bag of wind about it, like, oh, look at how much I have, and put everybody else to shame. I mean, that's not a fan. That's just a jerk, in my opinion. But
yeah. I mean, when I was young, I collected. I was a collector. I loved collecting various things, but again, not much had value. The only thing I really ever got kind of serious into was comic books, and I would, but I collected them because I liked to read them. I bought them, I read them, and then I put them in the little sleeve, and I'd have them all collected. And then at a certain point, I started, some of these comics were supremely valuable, like in the early 90s. So I thought, well, I'll start to buy like 2 copies of everyone when they come out, and I'll build this collection, and they'll go up in value, and I could sell them one day. And they're all worthless now. Like anything that I bought, like this, they were worth more 30 years ago than they are now, which is kind of dumb. Like some of these comics are going for like $50-$60 a piece back then. Yeah, now like you might even be able to find a place or find some place that says, oh, it's worth that, but good luck for selling it for that much. Mm-hmm. And it's like my copy of the Mask Elements that I was talking about. Like I bought that when I got really into Deep Purple and Roger Glover. Yeah. Could I sell it for $100? Yeah, but honestly, it's not worth it. If it was worth $20,000, it would have been sold. But for $100, like I'm like, I mean, it means a lot to me. It was a cool thing. It was a good memories attached to listening to it. I'm not necessarily interested in making $100 off of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't think that, like, I don't know that anybody that's a serious collector, like maybe my opinion is, meaning serious collector, meaning the people that I spoke about that, have kind of like shrines and stuff, house or whatever. I don't really think that even people like that will amass a collection for the value of it, to just be like, someday I could sell this for blah, 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 whatever. It's just like, they're just a different kind of collector. They're maybe more dedicated to spending the money. Maybe they have a different feeling about like personal items. Like to me, that stuff is like not really, I mean, yeah, I value personal things. Like I hold on to stuff. I'm sentimental, but I'm not that much into like physical stuff, I guess. Like I'm kind of like moderately into it. Like I collect a lot, like, when we were younger, like teenagers into my 20s. And then I just kind of stopped because I'm like, well, what am I going to do with all this shit? Is basically
and
I was thinking.
When I moved from Rhode Island to New York, it was more like I need to get rid of all this stuff. And what I end up doing is, like, for my CD collection, I had probably a couple thousand CDs. And I remember like the month before I moved, every day I was just ripping one CD after another. And I'd rip, 20 CDs a day, 30 CDs a day onto my computer. And so I left all my CDs behind, and I moved to New York without a single CD. And I had all my entire music collection on my computer.
Yeah.
And then, I got a big house out in the suburbs, and my parents, every time they drove in would be like, "Hey Nate, we brought 5 boxes of CDs." I'm like, "Ah, damn it, I'm getting all this stuff back." So now I have all this stuff in my basement instead of theirs. But yeah, like that's, to me, like with CDs and things, it was cool to like look and see this collection. But to me, it was more like having the music was more important, and being able to listen to it was more important than having it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And I think maybe so we can wrap it up and get on to looking at some cool stuff. This is just like, I don't know. I don't think that there's a right or a wrong way to collect anything or to be a fan or, yeah, exactly. Whatever, you know what, that's the best way to kind of, to say it is if it brings you joy, whether you have like a couple of CDs or even cassettes or whatever, and you know, and it brings you joy, or you know, you have a signed ticket stub or whatever it is, it's like that's really all that matters. And you know, if you're a passionate collector, then any level of it I think has value. So this is really like, I'm excited about this just because it's more about sentimentality and like some of the stuff I haven't seen for a while, and it's just kind of cool because it's old.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, do you want to get started, or what do you got?
All right. Yeah. So this is something that I've talked about on many shows, is my my Tommy Bolin box set.
Ah, yes.
The pink with, you know, with him and the smoke and everything like that. So this is a 2 cassette retrospective, which sounds really funny right now, featuring rare text and
it could have been
photographs.
so much more. They had this like Tommy Bolin fever thing that came out. It's like 15 CDs, but it's super rare. But yeah, two cassettes.
And you know, it's, you know, and I'm trying to like, we were debating on the date this came out, and it came out 1989. To think that Tommy Bolin had like a box set dedicated to him now, I feel is kind of nuts. But
yeah, because in 1989 it wasn't like, box sets were not yet like ubiquitous. Right. I know like Zeppelin had their box set, and it might have been Pink Floyd. Actually, the Pink Floyd one might have came out slightly after that.
But the thing that I mean, with somebody that kind of on the fringe like Tommy Bolin, somebody that's not as well known as him, it's kind of crazy that he had a box set. But
you know, it's great that he did, because honestly, I don't know that I would have gone and searched out all those. Like in my CD collection, I have every single album that's represented on that box set. I have the full album of, and I don't think I would have done that had I not gotten a hold of that box set.
Well, one of the things that I like about this, which, you know, we'll try and describe in detail because it's largely a visual episode. But one of the things that I actually like is that the booklet that came with it is largely preserved. Like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't have like a scratch on it, like since like I bought it when I was like in the 90s. And so it's just like the whole book, like on the inside is just, you know,
and it's all those super like well-known photos of Tommy, like him lying down with the guitar and everything.
Yeah, and my favorite is like the back cover with him,
the payphone,
with him holding the payphone and just being like kind of like, you know.
He's looking all like snotty, like, "Hey, you have a phone call."
But this is really cool because it's like a record album size booklet, and it's just like, you know, it's not that like cumbersome. Like I could flip through it now and not ruin this. And it's just, you know, it's a bunch of pictures, and it's got like, you know, kind of his life story in it, kind of condensed, I guess. So this is just really cool to have. You know, I don't know, I feel like it's something that, you know, these days have passed. You know, you're not going to find this anymore. So that's my thing.
Well, we talked about this in past episodes, but I had the 2 CD set because you had that. I started listening to it, and I was just like, we got in the car, and I'm like, to Strawberries. And we drove to Strawberries and went up to the 2nd floor there, and I got my own copy, and I've not been able to find it. It could be in a box in my basement. It could be still in my parents' basement. I don't know. But on eBay recently, I got a copy. Now this one's interesting because on the back, yours probably says a 1 and a 2. Mine says a 1, a 2, and a 3.
Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. Let me take a look. Yeah, it does. Check it.
And that's that's what mine looked like. The reason this says 1, 2, and 3 is because.
Is it a 3D CD set?
Yeah, no. It is the 3 LP version. So it's
Okay.
all records. So, you know, so
Nice.
recently I like I said, I found this on eBay and I was just, and the real reason I bought it was because of the booklet that you just described.
Yeah.
I just really wanted, and there is on the back. It's the same exact booklet. And I figured, you know, if I can't find mine, you know, I got this for, I don't know, $25 or something cheap. It's actually in very good condition. And I figured, you know what, I really want that booklet and to be able to look through it and maybe for future episodes. So I picked it up just so I could have it. That's probably the newest thing I have. I probably got it like a month ago, but
Nice.
it's, yeah, kind of interesting. Since we're starting off with Tommy there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me see. I got, I can just go through a couple of other things really quick. Like, you know, on our last album, like I have,
oh, nice.
You Are the Music, Trapeze. Nothing really.
I never had that one on vinyl.
Yeah. Actually, hang on. Just like, I'll go through the records first. So, yeah, there's Tommy Bolin Teaser.
Oh, beautiful.
So actually, this is one that I forgot that I had, which is Tony Ashton and John Lord.
Oh, nice.
First of the big bands.
I have that CD here somewhere, but
forgot that I had that. I have like some White Snake, Deep Purple in concert. I always thought that this was a cool album, you know, with some cool pictures of them on it. I forgot I had this one at all. My favorite.
Oh,
Who
your
Do We
favorite
Think We
Mark II
Are?
album.
I actually, and just in keeping with me forgetting about having things like Long Live Rock and Roll,
nice.
with our favorite
favorite Photoshop
insert,
job,
with our favorite insert in here. I'm saving a lot of these. I have a Zephyr going back to Colorado.
Beautiful.
I remember a lot of these I picked up at like either you know, the Salvation Army or these record stores on Thayer Street, which anybody that is not from Rhode Island would, if you don't know, was the kind of the bohemian, you know, street. It was like the you know, kind of the artsy area in Providence
area.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like,
as you're saying this, I'm getting texts from Rich on Facebook, who is a huge fan of the show. We talk to all the time. Yeah, and he sent me a photo that I'll have to send to you. But he said the segment where we were talking about being about the union in the Glenn Hughes trapeze episode. He said that confirms that we're from Rhode Island, in case we thought we were making it up. So it's funny that I'm getting texts about being from Rhode Island as you're mentioning Thayer Street.
Yeah. So yeah, that was that is rather the college area. Like the
Brown is right down the street. RISD is not far.
Yeah, Brown, RISD, and everything. Although, like the street now does not have a lot of those kind of boutique shops and record stores and like kind of like little artsy fartsy places anymore. It's gone very like, you know, chain and everything. It's still a cool place to hang around, but I mean, it's like, you know, you have. It's not the same as it used to be. And I remember when I started to hang out there, everybody was like, it's not the same as it used to be. So it's like, I think
there's always a bunch of disenfranchised hipsters complaining that it wasn't as cool as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. But I mean,
in my day, there was a record store and a falafel shop, and now it's all this chain stuff.
You still walk down there and you'll see like the guy with the acoustic guitar, like playing, you know, for money and stuff, like street performers and stuff. It's still a cool place to hang around. Pre-COVID it was, but you know, I don't know if anybody's, but anyways, we got
beautiful. Come Taste the Band.
Come Taste the Band. Of course, this was one that I got very, very early.
Oh yes.
This was like the concerto. This was like I think I had heard the concerto like first on record. Like that was another one. Like I said, I found a lot of these like on like the Salvation Army and places like that. So I was like, you know, I was just like grabbing these because I wanted them, you know, because I really loved them. And I wanted to hear them, you know, and you know, and then I just have some random like Gillan, Glory Road. Like I don't even have like half of the original albums, like from like In Rock or any of that stuff. Like I just, you know, there was kind of no it's kind of chaos theory, you know. But now this is interesting because this is like this last stuff that I'll hold up is just all stuff that relates to Deep Purple, but in some way here. This is just like, this is a Jesus Christ Superstar.
Is that like the libretto or something? Or?
Souvenir program, $2.
Oh, wow.
I remember that I got this from the Salvation Army near my house. So this was the Broadway stage premiere, opening October 71. So I guess this was like the tour program. And
would it have Jeff Fenholt and Ben Vereen in there?
Jeff Fenholt and Carl Anderson and Yvonne.
Oh, Carl Anderson. Okay.
Yeah. So I picked it up because I thought, of course, that Ian Gillan was in it because it had the same logo and everything like that. And it even had this really cool thing in here, which is actually perfect. Like, this isn't like perfect shape.
It looks like it's in great condition. Yeah.
Yeah.
50 years old. God.
Yeah. And like I said, it was like, this is like the, the featured musicians or whatever, but this was like in the middle of the program, when the program is kind of yellowed and beat up a little bit. But that's really cool. I have the, now this is way out of Deep Purple territory, but this is my 93 AD tour with Ted Neely, which he had signed
look at that.
to me. And I had gotten backstage to meet this guy like several times. So I was just like, for me, like having that, signature is a big fan. And then the local newspaper clipping from the call.
Oh, really?
January 23rd, 1994, because this was the show. Call. This is the show that I went to. Yeah. I feel like you must have given this to me.
Yeah, but you weren't getting the call and where you were.
Or Paul. Like,
it could have been Paul. Paul had, I think he had Ted Neely's. Paul was really bad with that sort of thing. He had like Ted Neely's autograph and Carl Anderson's autograph. I can't remember how he had them, but I think he also
because we went together and we got them from him when they were in that production.
Right. And I know there was a picture of the three of you with Ted Neely or Carl Anderson or one of them. And he had that for a while, but he was always so bad about stuff. He just like, here's this picture of us, and it'll be like under a table somewhere or something. It would just he spilled soda on it or something. It was always like stuff getting ruined. He also had like, he took when he went to go see Victor Wooten, he took the pick guard off of his bass and brought it with him to have Victor Wooten sign it. And most people would take that and then put it on their wall, but he comes back home, screws it back into his bass, plays bass. It just eventually wore off the whole signature. Classic Paul.
Jesus, good God.
Yeah, when you talk about us kind of not really caring too much about collectibles, he's like the next level.
Oh, well, I got a couple of more just related to this if we're going down this road. This is like the original motion picture soundtrack album with, again,
that's signed by Ted Neely. Look at that.
Ted Neely, and over here in pen, Carl Anderson. R.I.P. Signed by him, and then this last thing is this Jesus Christ Superstar. It looks like a box set. It's like got that original logo on it, but
because I think it's two LPs, right?
Yeah, it's like a two. Yeah, I got the two LPs in here. You can hear me struggling with them. Opening it up, and
it's a huge booklet.
Well, there's a booklet inside. And the thing is I got really lucky with these Jesus Christ Superstar booklets because like there's a skinny little booklet in this one, and this one is another one that's like in perfect condition, and it's got it's got this. This is funny because this one has like this kind of this drawing of all these people, and then it shows
Rushmore sort of situation of all the heads,
and then numbered. And then it has it numbered like Murray Head, Andrew Lloyd Webber, John Gustafson, Barry Denon, Ian Gillan, Tim Rice, and you can tell like if you see that there's Gillan, where my finger is, and then this is just like it's a lyric book. There are all the lyrics in here of it, so I guess it's like another version of this. And like I said, I feel like I found most of these, especially the Jesus Christ Superstar stuff, at like yard sales, antique shops. There was a Salvation Army that's now like a job lot or something near my house. But I mean, like I would just ransack that place for records.
Oh yeah.
And like
anytime you saw a crate of records, you just start crawling through it and seeing what you can find.
Oh yeah, just be like Saturday or Sunday afternoons, just just going like this with the fingers, just going through until you find something. And so that's pretty much all the records.
That booklet you just showed from Jesus Christ Superstar. So my first introduction to Jesus Christ Superstar was our friend Paul's mom had made us copies of it on cassette, but she had photocopied really nicely a little insert for the cassette, and it had the cover, and then she gave us those booklets, and she had actually stapled them, and I don't know how she did it, but it was really nice. This exact booklet you were holding, but it was a photocopy of one that she had made from wherever, probably her original or whatever. And I remember she gave it to us for something having to do with church or whatever. And I remember I looked at it and I was like, and I didn't really listen to it at first. And I probably had it for a year or two. And then they put on a local production of Jesus Christ Superstar, and we went to go see it. And they had a full, strings and horns section, and the band was incredible. And we saw that, and I came home immediately that night and like rustled through all my stuff, found the cassette, and started listening to it. And that's when I was just hooked. So I wish I know I've probably got it somewhere because I wouldn't have thrown it away. But that means a lot to me, that first introduction that I had. Talking about, I've got some similar stuff that you have. Talking about records, I've got two right here that I got very recently. And the thing that makes these interesting is we've got the Concerto for Group and Orchestra and Shades of Deep Purple. These are both Canadian pressings.
Mm-hmm.
And the reasons these are interesting is because I inherited these from, well, I didn't inherit, he's still alive, but my father-in-law. Well, let me back up. My mother-in-law gave these to me. My father-in-law did not know she was giving these to me. But she gave me like this big bin of records, and I was looking through them, a lot of weird stuff, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, here's two Deep Purple records. So I already had copies of both of these, but I think they were both UK or maybe US pressings. So I've got these two kind of Canadian ones. So it's little hand-me-downs there.
They look to be in good shape too. So
they're actually in pretty good. They're a little scratched up, the records, but I have perfect digital files of them. It doesn't matter.
Of course, yeah.
Another one that's really actually, while we're speaking of Concerto for Group and Orchestra, I have 3 VHS tapes, which are all, look at these. These are worth absolutely nothing. They're crappy, and I even toyed with throwing them away recently because I was like, why do I still have these? I was almost going to throw them in the garbage, and these are 3 Deep Purple VHS tapes that you let me borrow all 3 of them, and I think my parents are out of town, so I grabbed their VCR and I hooked it up to another VCR, and I made copies of them. And the first one, it's on the side, it says Deep Purple Royal Philharmonic, which is not even accurate, but this is the Concerto for Group and Orchestra. And then with a Dymo label, I put on there 1969.
I think that might have been from this that I got from there
you go. Yep.
From a record show, which is just like a dark ass picture. Like you got these big things that fans made, and I have a ton of these. And then the back is like with the the Japanese writing and everything, and then mine doesn't even have anything on it. Like mine
yours is
say
clearly
shit.
Just like they were just mass producing these and then selling them completely illegally, and then I took a copy of that.
So what's the other one you have? What are the other ones?
Well, I've got 2
I probably
more.
have them here.
The second one is labeled Deep Purple Denmark, so you know what that is. And then again, for whatever reason, in the Dymo label, I put 1972 on there because of the year it was.
Yep. Here's mine.
Maybe that's why I did it, because you have Dymo label on yours that says Deep Purple Denmark.
However, I did my own set list on the back.
Oh, nice.
Because it wasn't on there, so I had to put it on there myself.
So then I guess you probably know what my last one is then. It's Deep Purple California Jam, 1974. There you go.
There's mine.
Rock
with Ritchie.
Flashback.
Yep, Rock Flashback, Deep Purple. And then this was another one with these kind of like big cases with like the
it's like the library case.
Yeah, inside the plastic, and they had like, the back was just another one which had this like, kind of Japanese writing, and it looked pretty professional.
And it's like a printout that doesn't even fill out the whole thing. It's just like it's too small for the case.
But then I had another one. I don't know if you got this. This one we made fun of all the time was the Tommy Bolin tribute special.
Yes, I never got a copy of that one. We're gonna need to hook up the VCRs again and get a copy of that.
Oh, definitely. I'll show you the back cover because that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the front cover is probably my favorite because it's the worst picture of Mark IV I've ever seen.
Two out of the 5 have their eyes closed, right? Is it Coverdale and Hughes?
Yeah, like Coverdale is like, Coverdale is like in the middle of a blink, and then like Glenn Hughes just looks like, I don't know, and
with his Mork and Minnie suspenders.
Like, yeah, exactly. So this is like terrible, but this was the one
I've seen
where
so many shots from that same photo shoot. Like it's funny that they picked that one because it's like the worst one from the photo shoot.
But it looks like this one, this is another one for fan club use only, it says on the back. But
okay,
is
this authorized to be shown here? Or is...
Oh, I don't know. Somebody from like 30 years ago might get pissed. But it has, it looks like, and I forget exactly what's on this, but I know it's got some James Gang songs. So it probably has him performing with James Gang, him performing with Deep Purple, plus documentary with live interview.
Yeah.
105 minutes complete, all pro shot, A quality. Cause that's how they'd sell it by advertising like on the back of the VHS. But I remember we used to relentlessly make fun of that guy who's just like, I knew Tommy personally. And we'd be like, oh, shut up. You remember him, that egghead?
I do. It was like the Tommy Bolin nerd almost. Like he knew. I don't even remember. I don't even remember what it was, but it was fun to watch. It was really interesting for me watching that because his interviews with Karen and with Glenn and Jeff Cook, I think. Yeah, Jeff Cook is definitely all over that.
Was in it a lot, yeah.
And it was really interesting because at that point, this is pre-internet, pre any of that, and there was the only source of information you had. So everything they were saying was like new information for you, and you're like, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Listening to all these interviews was pretty great.
So those are my prized Deep Purple VHS, and then of course later on, like I was like very happy to find Denmark on DVD.
Oh yes, I have that somewhere back there. Yeah.
Yeah, this was my upgrade. It was just like, and I mean, it wasn't even a lot too. You know what I mean? Like I just remember that this DVD wasn't a lot. And I'm just like, for like a DVD quality of like the best performance of Deep Purple I've ever seen. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's probably cost you $9 or something.
Yeah. Of course, I can't see it now because I don't own a DVD player anymore. But
yeah, I have to put it into my computer and rip it to a file so I can actually watch it on my TV.
Yeah. So, all right. So I've shown like a ton of stuff here. Like, what else you got?
What else I got? So this one's really, I've talked about this on the show before, but this is my copy of the Butterfly Ball and Wizards Convention.
Yep, I got the same one.
So it's got the Butterfly Ball, and then it has 6 selections from Wizards Convention. And the story behind this is my parents, for their, I don't know, years ago, 20th anniversary or something, were going to Europe and left me alone for 3 weeks while they went to Europe. And they were like, do you want us to bring you anything back? I was like, yes. Go into a record store and find the Butterfly Ball, because at that point we had it was the early 90s. We had Prodigy internet, and I could go on and there were some sites you could find where you had to print out a mail order form and send it in, and you spend $30. So I just couldn't figure out how to do it. So basically I begged them to please just look for this. And they came back with this and a few other things actually for me. But nice. This was the fact that I had this, because all I had was a copy of probably your cassette version. You couldn't find this anywhere. It just wasn't in the early 90s. You couldn't find it, even though I think this was probably released in 89 or so, probably the same time as Tommy Bolin. So yeah, when they came home with this, it was a CD. It had the Little Chalk Blue, which was we had only heard of. We had never actually heard it. And then it introduced me to Wizards Convention, because it's a CD. We have to fill the whole thing. I don't know. Throw on a few tracks from Wizards Convention. Okay. So then you see in the bottom there, there's these the famous photos, which I believe are from the Wizards Convention recording session of Glenn, John, Roger, and David Coverdale.
Right.
And then the bottom, they put the little Wizards Convention logo saying that they were adding some of those tracks. So it means a lot to me just because it was my first real nice quality copy of that album. So
yeah, see, no, I have that, or I've had that somewhere, but going through my CDs, and I might have missed it too. Like I couldn't find it.
yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, I know that was the one that I had, CD version. But I know another one that we talked about. Like I'm going through everything here. The one that we've talked about quite a bit was this one.
Oh yeah,
Coverdale solo album, the David Coverdale White Snake / North Winds, which this was like, if you look at the back, the track the track listing is just like 17 tracks, and it's just like I didn't know where one began or one, but see the White Snake is on the front, and then like in the North Winds is on the back, very small. But you know, like we were saying before, like we didn't care. We just were able to get like David Coverdale solo. So we were just like,
yeah, that was, I think I found that in a bargain bin or something for $6 or $7 and picked it up. And yeah, it was great. 2 albums in one. Can't beat that.
now was this also the copy of Elements and the Mask that you have?
Yep. That's the exact one that I have.
Yep. So
Somewhere.
I have something that's worth $100 too, I guess. Oh, not anymore. I just opened it up and looked, the thing's
I think you could probably get a new jewel case.
Yeah. Jewel case is broken.
When I ordered that Deep Purple or that Dream Theater doing Made in Japan, it came from Russia. It was the CD and like the booklet and the back cover, but no jewel case. They were just all in an envelope. So I just took some old CD I had that I didn't care about, threw the stuff away, and put it in there.
You know, a lot of these, if you look at the dates on them, are like, well, wait a minute. This one, the Coverdale one said this compilation 1988. That's kind of, but a lot of these are like early 90s, like this one here, the CD, the Deep Purple family album.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This one was a big one for me because this had Blackmore 63, Pace Evans, the track listing on this is pretty neat because it shows like Glenda Collins and the Outlaws, but before it, it's like Blackmore, and then Pace Evans, M15, Lord, the Artwoods, Gillan / Glover, episode 6, and then it just goes into Deep Purple proper, and then Alphonse Mouzon, Bolin.
Yep.
You know, and it just goes through like this was kind of like my go-to album because this was, or CD, because it's kind of like, that's the only place you could find all this rare and varied stuff from the Deep Purple family. And I guess that's how I kind of started thinking of them, like all the musicians, as like the Deep Purple family, which is what we kind of, you know, based our whole idea of the podcast on.
Yeah, totally.
So, and then let's see, you find anything else? Because right now I'm just like, I'm holding up whatever I'm finding here.
I mean, I got like a million CDs here, but
well,
I got
this was
going with your John Lord and Tony Ashton thing. I've got them First of the Big Bands live in concert.
Oh wow!
Which is a live concert. It was really good. All tracks recorded the 12th of September 1974 at the London Palladium. That's a great one.
This is the Green Bullfrog album that we were talking about.
Ah, yes.
With the different pictures of the frog on it. Thought this was cool when it came out. I'll bet you this has a 1991. Yeah, 1991 date.
There you go. I finally was able to match you and find it quickly enough. It's mine.
The Deepest Purple. This was like the first compilation that I had. I couldn't find the cassette. It might be at my parents' somewhere. When I went through my cassettes, I couldn't find it, but this was like the thing that got me into Deep Purple. This was like the collection that I picked up to get me into it, and then wondered why Ian Gillan's voice sounded so different in Stormbringer. You know. And then this grotesque thing. The Elf album. We're just going to put that away.
I think I've talked about mine, right? Well, I've showed mine on the Elf episode how I have mine turned around so I don't have to look at. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, did I do that? No, I didn't do that. I think I just had it like hidden under a bunch of stuff.
Mine, I think I flipped it around for the episode, but yeah, I had mine like this so that when you look at it, it's got the nice price and it's got the back cover instead, so you don't have to look at that.
Yeah. Just a couple of more things for CDs too. Like when this came out, I really liked the way that it was done. The In Rock Anniversary Edition with all the
that was really nice.
Jewel case. I really liked this CD a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought it was really cool how it had all the signatures on the jewel case and then everything that was kind of contained in it. You know, the Jam Stew, the Roger Glover remixes, you know, all that kind of stuff after the proper album. So I thought that was cool. For some reason, the complete episode 6, the funky like 60s.
That's another one you get for like $60 or $70.
Yeah. And I can't say that I listened to it a lot, but I mean, you know, it had members of Deep Purple in it. So
yeah, it's cool as a collector's item, but yeah, it's not something you're going to just pop on.
But the one last thing that I could show from these, which I thought was cool that I actually listened to is this one was the Days May Come CD. This was the California rehearsals, June 1975. So I thought it was really cool because this was Mark IV rehearsals with Tommy Bolin.
Mm-hmm.
So it had like, you know, Ode to G instrumental, and then Drifter, and then basically a lot of other things like the Orange Juice song. Yeah, I Got Nothing for You jam, like, and sometimes Coverdale like scatting over songs from what I can remember. I just thought this was really.
It's got them doing like kind of jamming the riff to Sail Away, right? It sounds like Tommy's like still learning it because he's like not quite. He's like just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Another thing I have is which one of those ones I would have bought, you know, this as soon as it came out, which was Perpendicular on CD.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those CDs that, you know, like 1 out of every 20 CDs has the spine of it is backwards and it drives you crazy. You know what I'm talking about? It's like a normal CD, like if you lie it flat, you can read the writing.
Yeah.
Perpendicular, if you lie it flat, the writing's upside down. And then if you line them up sideways in your collection, you're reading them all, or the spine of the CD, you're reading them this way. But then every so often there's one like Perpendicular, Green Bullfrog, and
they're the wrong way.
All I can see in this group right here, they're the wrong way. And some of them I actually would cut out and then flip them around and the thing, because it would just drive me insane. It's something I don't understand why they would do that. Like you wouldn't do that with a book. But anyway.
Well, speaking of books,
oh yes,
I know that you have quite a bit, but there's only one that I have, which was my white whale for a time, which was the Ian Gillan Child in Time autobiography. I was looking for this thing like forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. What color is your writing in white?
Yeah. What color
Child
is
in Time. My Child in Time is purple.
Huh. Let
me see it again. Yeah, all the writing is in white. Like this one's in purple. What year did yours come out? Because it looks like mine was like for London pressing.
This was printed in Great Britain. This says first published in Great Britain in 1994.
Oh, mine is first published in Great Britain in 1993.
Ah, so you have an earlier version.
Yeah, I honestly can't remember where I got this, but I was looking everywhere for this. What is the back picture of?
Yeah, it's slightly different. Yep.
Yeah, is yours hardcover or?
No, it's paperback.
Yeah, so
but
mine
this is not my original copy. This one I actually got off of eBay because I couldn't find my original copy. And again, it might be in the same, I don't know, box with my Tommy Bolin CDs. I don't know.
Yeah, I just remember getting this and being like thrilled because again, like, you know, I couldn't just find it off eBay or anything like that. So I was just remember like, or, you know, whatever, the internet, because it didn't exist. So just went into like, you know, bookstores and like all sorts of things, and just like looking in vain for it, like just not knowing how to get it. And somehow, I don't know, honestly don't know how I came by it, but you know, there it is, and still in pretty decent condition too.
Yeah. I have, which I've talked about on the show, purchased the Burn album, purchased at Joe's Moldy Oldies, my hometown.
That place was great, by the way. Like I got so much crap there for like next to nothing. Like his prices were fantastic.
Yeah, and I started going there for comics as a kid, and it was one of those things you could find these old comics, and usually it was, you know, nothing in great condition. It was just like, oh my God, I want to read this Incredible Hulk from 1971 or whatever it was. And then eventually, as I kind of lost interest in comics and started getting interested in records, I kept going there and looking for stuff. And this was right. I remember it was like the next day after you had played this California Jam for me or something. I went there, and I saw this, and I thought, I don't even know if I knew about the album yet. I just saw this, and I said, oh, these are the guys. Oh, they're playing that song, because the song Burn really struck me when I saw it live. And so I think I heard it on California Jam before I actually heard the album version. And I just remember taking this home and actually putting it on the turntable and listening to it and just being blown away. So that was really cool. And then to piggyback off of that, that was purchased in, I don't know, 1993, 94 or whatever. And then a more recent copy of Burn that I just got. Woo! Let me get out of this container here. This one, autographed by Hughes.
Wow.
And yeah, he had posted something a while ago, maybe like February or March, about how he was going to be autographing these and selling them. And I thought, you know, it was like, oh, $35 or something. I was like, why the hell not have an autographed you know, we talked about like not having memorabilia that's worth any. I don't think this is like super valuable, but it was just more of like, cool. Wouldn't it be cool to have, you know, Glenn Hughes touched this album, you know? It's nothing else in my house that Glenn Hughes has touched, as far as I know. So, but Glenn, if you're listening, you can come touch anything you want here. So I thought that would be kind of cool to have. And then behind me, which we've talked about before, I've got the cool poster of the Butterfly Ball when it was advertised in, I don't know, was it New Musical Express or something? So that was kind of cool. And that's something that I did buy recently, but it was, you know, just because it was a contemporary ad for Butterfly Ball, and I thought that would be neat to have. Oh, and then if I can get up, there's another poster that nobody can see from where I'm sitting.
Okay.
Oh, as I step on and break some of my memorabilia. And that is this, which I got from when I went to go see Deep Purple. I got the little swag bag sort of thing, and I got this Deep Purple, the Long Goodbye Tour poster that is not autographed because I screwed up my VIP selection like an idiot.
Dummy.
And didn't get to see them.
Dummy. All right, so now we're going way back. Let's talk about things that aren't worth anything. So as you can hear, that's cassettes.
Cassettes.
So this is one of my favorites right here. Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow.
Oh yes.
Now my favorite right here is this is why we do it, because how many times does this guy need his name on here? Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, and then on the bottom, Blackmore's Rainbow, Ritchie Blackmore's /Rainbow. Like what the? I didn't even know like what to call this when I bought it. I just knew that this was Ritchie's band.
I was reading a recent interview where he was talking about how he wanted to start off calling it Ritchie's Blackmore's Rainbow, so people got the idea like who that it was him and all that, and then he was going to slowly like back it off, which he did, and eventually it was just Rainbow, right? So he kept to his word.
So I have my Shades of Deep Purple.
There you go.
Cassette.
I love the cassette where they don't know what to do, so they just put the because of the aspect ratio, they put the square vinyl album cover on it, and then they've got all the space on the bottom, and they just put some random text there or a barcode or something. It looks terrible.
Yeah, that's now I'll tell you, this is the the cassette
Oh.
version of the Coverdale dual albums.
I didn't know there was I didn't know there was a cassette version of that.
Oh yeah, I got it before that, before the other one. But this one, it looks like they delineated a little bit better on the back here, like between the two albums, because you have like side A is Lady through Sunny Days, and then side B is Hole in the Sky through Say You Love Me.
Oh, there you go.
Off the top of my head, I don't know if that's right, but
It sounds right. Yeah.
I have a lot of Whitesnake. I got a lot of Whitesnake here too, like Trouble. I got a lot of Whitesnake
nice.
stuff, but actually
Perpendicular on cassette.
Perpendicular
Wow.
on cassette, yeah. Jesus, this is like this is all Whitesnake. Oh, wait a minute. There was one that was really funny though. And I wanted to there it is. There it is. The one that started it all.
The butterfly ball cassette.
The butterfly
yes.
ball on cassette.
We would just listen to that in your car on repeat.
Oh my God. And look at this.
Oh God.
All yellow and
yeah, it looks like a
old.
cassette you'd get at the library.
Yeah, pretty much. And the funny thing is that on the inside of this there is an insert, but it has nothing to do with the butterfly ball. It's just like more pop tapes. And then it's got
like the catalog numbers of some other tapes that they have.
Yeah, Bachman Turner Overdrive is in here quite a bit. The Ohio Players and Rod Stewart.
Why not? And that cassette does not have Little Chalk Blue on it, right?
No, I don't think so. Nope. And
that's why we called it the new song when we finally got the CD.
And I think that this cassette was from 1975. Because
really?
I'm pretty sure that like a lot of these, like I picked up like I feel like I picked that one up at like a used record store, because I mean obviously like in 93 they weren't like printing new cassettes of the friggin' butterfly ball.
Yeah, like every so often I would get a cassette without, like, usually I would take a CD and like dub it onto a cassette so I could listen to it in the car, because you didn't have a CD player in your car. But like every so often I'd be someplace, and I remember I got Aqualung used for like $4. So I was like, oh, it's the actual cassette, but I'll buy it. And then I just listened to it until it fell apart in my cassette player.
So I like this Tommy Bolin Private Eyes featuring, and then it just lists like pretty much every song.
featuring these hit songs, like
featuring the hit songs Post Toasty, Shake the Devil, Gypsy Soul, Sweet Burgundy, You Told Me You Love Me. And it's like, you may as well just put the other 3 songs on here.
I know, isn't there like 8 songs? And it's not like those were like radio songs. Oh yeah, no. Post Toasty, they're always playing that on the radio.
And then very timely for the last episode, Coverdale page. This one I definitely know that I got somewhere like used, because I wouldn't have paid like $13 for this cassette like new back then. And then of course the Glenn Hughes Blues album.
Oh, he's riding the motorcycle. Yeah,
and he's got really short hair. I just remember they were like, this is like Glenn Hughes like return to music after like being away or something like that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that cover and being like, oh my God, he looks like George Michael.
It's true, but actually there was some really good stuff on this album, and I think I've listened to it since then, and it's just like, it's basically like him and like just like a bunch of like late 80s like guest rockers, Ritchie Kotzen, I think, and some other people just like playing like blues songs, which I don't know, blues songs like in the late 80s early 90s kind of sound dated. It's like like late 80s blues, got it. It wasn't very authentic, but I mean it was still Glenn Hughes, so it was still pretty cool. But that's I skipped over a lot of stuff because it's like nobody wants to see or listen to all of it, but that's the entirety of everything that I have, really. And I talked about my ticket stubs like a couple of episodes ago, so we don't need to go into those. But
yeah, I've got I've got a few other things. I've got the John Lord book behind me, which we talked about in our John Lord episode, which is awesome. Just like if we didn't have kids, I would put that on the coffee table because it's a great thing to thumb through, but it would be destroyed.
It's like, why is there grape jelly on John Lord's goatee? It's like, oh, I don't know.
I'd be happy if it was just grape jelly. I'd probably clean off easy. We got this that Mike Erickson sent me recently, which is really cool, which is the More Black Than Purple magazine, Rainbow Rising 21st Anniversary Special magazine. So it's really cool. These magazines are just loaded with information and interviews and all sorts of fan stuff. It's really cool to thumb through them. So thanks to Mike for sending that along. Then this great Deep Purple illustrated biography by Chris Charlesworth. That was one of those ones that is this I think was printed in like 1980 or something, and I'm probably getting that wrong and people are yelling at me. Let's see here. Oh, 1983. So it was right before they got back together. And then in the back of it shows the like marks 1 through 4.
Wow.
Which is kind of cool. Great live shot actually on the cover of the book. If you can see it, just great live shot of Mark II. And then it goes through year by year. You can see like here's 1970. It shows just like month by month kind of what was going on, and it's really interestingly laid out book. I love books like this that are just loaded with like graphics and dates and all sorts of cool stuff. It's not just like you're reading a novel. It's really interesting. Lots of really great photos in it. It's one of those like really sought after books. I've been looking for it for a really long time. And of course, Jorg, being the absolute gentleman that he is, remembered that I had mentioned I was looking for it. And he said, hey, one just popped up on eBay for $30 or something. So I went and it was like, boom, I bought it immediately. And normally they go for like more like closer to 100.
Wow.
So, yeah,
it looks
really,
like it's to be in a pretty decent condition.
Oh, it's in great shape. Yeah, really, really good shape. But really interesting. Obviously, it's far from complete now that the band's been back together for better part of 40 years. But it's really interesting. Mark 1 through 4 retrospective.
But I think that's pretty cool when you can find kind of retrospectives like that, like books that are from like 20, 30 plus years ago that are, they put them out as a retrospective, and then like now it's like you said, there's like the band has had like another like 40 years of like existing, and so that's kind of outdated, but that alone makes it kind of a collectible or time capsule because it goes right up to the end. I mean, I would think that goes right up to the end of Mark IV, and then
so this
doesn't do anything.
This covers the first 8 years of the 52 years Deep Purple's been around. But those are important 8 years, right? I mean, crazy stuff. Look at this picture of Coverdale. Cool. Look at the picture of Coverdale in the back. Can you see that?
It's like,
he's making like a really funny face.
Oh, you know what? I think that's from the same.
That photo shoot, yeah.
The same photo shoot that I have on that.
Tommy Bolin looks like he wasn't expecting a cameraman to show up. See him? He's like, huh?
He's like, maybe it was the same guy that shot the Glenn Hughes Christmas album.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we need an album cover. When are you going to take the picture? I just did.
I already did. He's packing up his camera bag. I'm done here.
It's like, hey, get back here, God damn it.
This is another interesting one that I bought this a long time ago. I can't explain this. This is really weird. I do weird stuff like this sometimes. So this is this amazing photo book, Deep Purple. And now this is huge. I mean, look at the
that is
huge,
big.
Unbelievable, by Didi Zill, who is like a German, I believe, a German photographer who photographed. It's still in the shrink wrap. I've had this for forever. I still haven't opened it. I just feel like it's one of those things where like there has to be something going on that I'm going to open this up and like look through it. This is not a cheap book. It's really, really great. I've seen, so it's Deep Purple photos, 1970 to 2006.
Wow.
But I've seen photos from the book and I just like, I have to have this just to be able to look through it one day. But it's one of those things where I just feel like the right opportunity hasn't presented itself. Maybe when COVID is over and you come visit or something one night, we'll go out on the patio and have some drinks and just look through it for like 3 hours because it's just unbelievable. Not only interesting historical photos that a lot of people probably haven't seen, including myself, but also just beautiful qualities, beautifully shot photos. So
Yeah, I was gonna say that's you're almost talking about that book like it's that fine bottle of wine that you have in your collection,
Yeah.
and you're waiting for the right opportunity to open it. Which, by the way, let's do that too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah,
Open a-
I got plenty of things to drink, but yeah, I don't know why I like sometimes I just do stuff like that. Like I'm like super anxious to get something and then I get it and I just don't look at it for like 2 years or whatever. And then I don't know why, but then one day I'll do it. And like, I know that I'm saving it for like a special occasion, I guess.
It's that's kind of the weird thing about collecting that made me think about a friend that I have who's like he's around our age and collects Transformers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that's his thing. And literally like I'll be like, I mean, for all of our friendship, like he'd be like on eBay, he'd be getting stuff in the mail. If we went out somewhere, he's like, oh, we got to stop at Toys R Us, like wherever they sold toys, and would just like buy everything. But it's like he would literally have boxes of this shit coming in, open it up. Like there would be like, I remember one time it was like a bunch of like comics and everything and books and stuff. And he just took them, didn't even look at them, and just like, boom, right on his bookcase. And I'm like, you didn't even look at them. He goes, these aren't for looking at. And I'm just like, but I mean, you didn't even like, don't forget about opening it up. You didn't even like admire it. You just like took them out. You're just like, bah, just shoved them in
like
the bookcase.
Like he's working at Toys R Us and be like, I got to get these on the shelf.
Exactly.
I got a truck coming in.
Or just be like, 10 things of like friggin', Bumblebee or whatever, and it's just like, and I looking at him like, these are all the same. He's like, no. He goes, this one has this label and this one's got this label on it. And then again, without even like barely looking at them and admiring them, he just like went into like, open up the door where he's got his Transformers, like, bah, just threw them in the room. And I'm just like
it seems like so joyless, like, crap, get this crap out of here.
You know what it is? That's the thing is like, it's such a hobby and he's such a collector, but it seems like there's no joy in it. It's just like why do you collect them? It's like, I have to, like he's a slave to, like, it's an addiction.
I know. I love having just the thought of it being so joyless and just, oh man, here we go. Back the daily grind. My boss is going to be on my ass if I don't get these things thrown into this room.
I gotta get these in inventory quick.
But sometimes if you've got like a kind of obsessive personality like that, it can feel that way. Like you're just going through the motions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to become like a completist, because I don't know. Like, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's just, it didn't, like, if I needed to have like every barcode or whatever, every like, kind of different pressing or like little, kind of nuance of like, a certain album or something like that. It's like, to me, in my mind, it's like, there's no joy in that for me. Like, I don't really feel like why would I need it? Like 10 versions of like the first Deep Purple album. Like, oh, this is the first pressing, the second, the UK pressing, the this, the that. It's like,
yeah.
I'd rather just
so,
like what
some
you
people
did.
really like that. I mean, I looking at my CDs here, it looks like a rough count, probably about 75 Deep Purple related CDs, which is kind of a lot. I'd say probably 90% of them were from my time getting into Deep Purple and all that. And a few of them, like if I look at, like for example, I bought this really nice Butterfly Ball sort of box set.
That's nice.
And it's got like some nice booklets, 3 different CDs. It's really interesting. It's got, this is like the bonus tracks bonus tracks. This is the main thing. And then it's got the Love Is All Old Blind Mole EP as part of it. So that I got more recently just because, as everyone knows, it's one of my favorite albums. So I wanted to make sure I had all that stuff, and just the booklet itself had tons of, sometimes I buy these CDs just because the booklets have so much great information. And for the show, it's really good for research to just get these so that I can look through the booklets. But yeah, most of these were just bought in the moment. And some of them bought for the booklets, and some of them bought because there was no other way to get a hold of the music. And I just needed, it's like, well, I want to cover that album, but I don't have it and can't find it on a streaming service or whatever. So, I got it. And, here's we talked about the first Trapeze album. This actually feels like it's got a pretty decent booklet in it. No, it's just a fold out. It's funny how Glenn Hughes, when he was like 17, looked older than he does now. See, Glenn.
Look at him with that porn stash. Why were there like 17 people in Trapeze on that album? Like,
it's only 5.
That's like a lot. Like,
they had Terry Rowley and John Jones who just like left.
Right. Right. Well, that album was really kind of hippie-ish music, right?
Yeah, it's one of those like we've talked about before. This was from what, 69? Where is it? Doesn't say here. I want to say it's like 69, but God, the difference between 1969 and 1972, it might as well have been 20 years later how albums sounded. Listen to Machine Head versus the last Mark I album. It's not only obviously the lineup change, but everything with production and everything was so different.
Yeah, everything was very echoey and
when you look at, and that's one thing that I think always made the Beatles stand out, is their production was always 10 times better than the next band. And when you listen to the Beatles from like 1968 and 1969, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget that it was happening with all of this other stuff. If you listen to contemporary stuff that's not the Beatles from that time, the production's usually quite poor, and they were in a different league than everyone else. And then in a few years, people kind of, with the production anyway, caught up to where they were at. But wow, yeah, it's like night and day.
I wouldn't disagree.
Looking at I mean, I could go through CDs for the rest of the day, but another good one is kind of like some of this like Tony Ashton stuff. I got like Family and Ashton Gardner and Dyke and stuff like that. And these things have great little booklets that were reprinted when they were re-released. And then I've got like a ton of books, but a lot of them are more recent purchases. The big one I think that I read at the time was the Ian Gillan one, like we talked about, and really just remember just that book. And Frank Zappa had a book that came out around the same time. And I remember getting those two and just reading them like cover to cover, like the same day, because I was just so excited to hear all these stories that I hadn't heard before.
Yeah, I think that was the thing with the Ian Gillan book, was that was the only one that I knew. Like he was the only one, and I think he's still the only one that has an autobiography, right?
Well, Glenn Hughes has an autobiography. Right. Coverdale's is not an autobiography. But yeah, I mean,
but I mean, of like the Mark II, like at the time,
yes,
that was.
But even like Lord doesn't have a biography. Blackmore has some books about him from other people. I don't think there's anything authorized.
But that's the thing, is like the Ian Gillan book, I felt was like.
Yeah, it was him.
Like the information that we were getting, whether it was from a magazine or a fanzine or whatever, it's like, okay, like this is going to tell me everything I need to know about Deep Purple, so that's why I wanted it. Plus, he wrote it.
Yeah,
and it had all the pictures, the cool pictures in it and stuff, and that picture of him with wearing the sock with like George Harrison and all that stuff. That was the first place that's the first place that I saw that one. Yeah, it was just like, so that's why I wanted to get my hands on that so bad.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a shame because I've thought about that too, but it would be great if, I mean, obviously some of them can't have autobiographies at this point, but like Glover, Paice, Coverdale,
John Lord, for sure.
None of them have even biographies, even unauthorized biographies. So, like I said, there's a few unauthorized Ritchie Blackmore books that are great. But to have something authorized would be great. The John Lord book behind me is mostly a picture book. There's some great stories in there and stuff, but And there's some great stuff about him growing up and his life, but it's not like a biography.
Right. But
And
I like, that's another thing I think we could probably agree on. I just thought of it now is like, I can't think of like one like proper member of Deep Purple that like a biography on them would not be interesting, like fascinating.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, you can think of other bands and you're just like, oh, you know, a biography on the bass player for Foghat, you know, it's like, who cares? I don't know.
Well, right.
I mean,
and
like,
it's not even so much just that they were in Deep Purple, but like think of like Roger Glover, like all the phases of his life. There's obviously a great documentary on him. It's like Made in Wales, I think it's called, and it's great. It talks about his early childhood and growing up and taking piano lessons, yada yada yada, and then then there's his episode 6 phase, getting into Deep Purple, leaving Deep Purple, getting into production, coming back to Rainbow, coming back to Deep Purple. There's so many elements to his life that would be so interesting. And same thing with John Lord and Ian Paice. All of them had such great careers in and out of Deep Purple. It's surprising that there's not a book on all of them.
Well, I mean, even look at some of like the associated acts. Like I'm sure you've heard of the Bob Daisley autobiography. I've been hearing I've heard about that one for like tons and tons of times, and then I finally got it, and of course it was fantastic, because you just like, I mean, not only is it like a history of him, but I mean it's like a history of music going to like spanning through time. And I mean all the bands that he was in, which include Rainbow and working with like Ritchie, and then like of course the Ozzy part of the story is like the one that I was drooling to get to when he was like in the first incarnations of Ozzy, and then everything after with Gary Moore and everything. I mean, it was just fascinating. So I mean, even like everybody associated with them, like I mean, you could just like pick anybody and you're just like, yeah, I'd love to hear a book on them.
Yeah, and sometimes some of those biographies might sound better than they are, or you're just like, I don't know if I'm super interested in reading that. But yeah, any of the guys in Deep Purple, any Mark, anything would be just really interesting to listen to. And especially if it's the Glenn Hughes one is obviously just very much told from his voice. He's talking very conversationally to somebody who's pretty much just writing it down. Ian Gillan's, yeah, it's clearly this was not a ghostwriter. Like there might have been somebody who helped him along with some of the stuff, but this is Ian Gillan talking. There's no making any mistake about it in the way that he gives some of the story. So, and sometimes that works better than others, but I would rather read a semi-poorly written book by one of my heroes in their voice than hear it too doctored up.
Yeah. I would say too, like probably like the most, it's not definitely not marketable at all, I'm sure, but I mean, I would be fascinated by a Rod Evans book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's actually interesting in a different way, because like somebody like Ian Paice, Roger Glover, you're talking about, they're 72, 74 or whatever, and then they have a 50+ year career to talk about in their book. Rod Evans is so concentrated. You're going to tell this story of him growing up, making this huge splash in a band that he was in for maybe 18 months, and then going into Captain Beyond for a couple, 2-3 years, and then vanishing from obscurity, coming back, having this one kind of big thing with the new Deep Purple, and then vanishing. Like that would be a fascinating story to read, because it's really, you're talking about his professional career being across the span of about 12 years, 5 or 6 of which he was completely inactive. So that would be, you're getting a really concentrated story there rather than jumping over a course of multiple decades.
Well, I think it would be really interesting, because you hear about, like you said, you could hear about like his early life, how he met Ritchie and everybody else and got involved in the band, and like, recollections from that, the band getting big, getting, dismissed from the band, and then starting Captain Beyond, leaving, and then just kind of what his life was like until the new Deep Purple, like out of the business, out of the industry. Like, was he still playing music, or like was he like in any local bands, or like you know what I mean? Did he still kind of continue on that path, or was he just out of music altogether and decided to, you know, go into the medical field? And then what made him come back? And then after the whole lawsuit and everything, which would be, you know, fascinating to read about from his point of view, like where did his life go after that? Like, I mean, was he, again, I mean, did he still write songs like just for himself? Did he play in any local, like, you know, pub bands or anything just for fun? Did he just give it up altogether? Like, what was his life like?
Rod, if you're listening, I will write this book for you. Just tell me your story. I would do anything to hear it, and I would do anything to get it out there. It would be amazing. It would be great if it was just like in 1980, the new Deep Purple, he does the lawsuit, and then he goes on these crazy adventures. Like he goes to Africa and is on the safari, and he's almost mauled by a lion, and he has to wrestle an alligator. It would be great if he just had these amazing stories then he decides I'm gonna become a skydiver, and he just like has these, you know, he becomes like an underground base jumper, and he's like, I climbed to the top of the World Trade Center and base jumped off of it, and that would be amazing if he had stories like that.
You'd just be like, yeah, I worked in my garden.
I went into the medical field. That's it.
But seriously, like, I mean, I feel like, you know, and of course there's so many things associated with projects like that. Like, would it be worth the time, the money to put into it? Would anybody buy it? I mean, of course we would, you know. Certainly
there would
would
be
hope that Deep Purple fans would, but
a ton of people that would be interested in a book like this. Is Rod Evans telling his story about his time with Deep Purple from his point of view, what it was like being kicked out of the group, what it was like forming Captain. There would be so many people interested in that. Like the thing, and you know, yeah, it's not going to be a huge moneymaker, but to get your story out there, like I'm honest, I would write that book. I would work tirelessly to bring that book to people, but not because I think it would make me any money. For the amount of work and time I would have to put into it, it would be a huge loss as far as valuing my time. But I would do it as a labor of love to get that story out there, tell his story, and.
But not to mention, I wonder. That's another thing, like not knowing anything about him, is I wonder how much stuff he's holding on to, like what kind of like photographs and like memorabilia and stuff he would have that like nobody's ever seen from like, you know, the 60s to the present, you know, that would like kind of document in photographs, you know, his life and his journey. Like, I think it would just be like, you know what I mean? Who knows? Rod, you have to come out of obscurity and talk to us.
Rod, please. I know you're a listener. I bet.
Baby.
Who's
baby?
Rod?
Let's make a deal.
I think I bet one of our patrons is Rod. Who do you think? Michael Vader? Greg Sealby?
Mausoleum. Would be Leaky Mausoleum.
Leaky Mausoleum.
Oh, I don't know.
Mark Roback, Anton Glaving. If one of you are Rod, speak up now, please. We want to tell your story. That'd be great if he was a patron.
I don't know how he got so far off track, but I mean, that was the first thing that came to my mind is just like, that just proves that anybody that was in Deep Purple, like virtually anybody, like just thinking about him, like, wow, what a story that would make. And not even for Deep Purple, just like, you know, the history of music and stuff like that. Like one of the things that I really like about, autobiographies of musicians is like, it's also like their take on like what the current scene of music was like at the time.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it's like a history of that era, not just their own life. So
yeah, seeing how the business end of it ran, and how that, you know, how they were treated by the management and what the expectations were. And it would be great to hear Rod's take on, you know, I think, you know, at that point, John Lord and Ritchie were kind of the creative directors of the band and jockeying for power at some points, but it would be interesting to hear from some Rod or something. What was it like having that pressure of having to put out X number of albums in a year and doing these crazy tour schedules, and how he felt about all that? Because you hear a lot, because Nick Simper has granted interviews and everything, you hear a lot about his take on being kicked out and how awful that felt, but it would be interesting to hear what Rod's take on it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is not we'll have to do a whole episode just on pondering what possibly Rod has been up to.
Jeez. Well, yeah, well, I think it was an interesting turn in the conversation. So,
and if anybody's out there that has contact with Rod, please, we're not here to ridicule the man or talk about the new Deep Purple if he doesn't want to. Like, I would give anything to talk to him and just hear from him and share my appreciation for the great music that he brought into the world. And I feel like he's become a punching bag for a lot of people, and that's just a shame, because nothing but respect for the guy from us.
No, everybody that is a regular listener to this podcast knows that we love Rod.
Yep, and we always will. With that being said, we solicited stories from our listeners on their Deep Purple collections, and I think we're going to save that for a future episode. Our next episode is going to be a very special episode. Our next 2 episodes are going to be very special episodes. And I think we'll be coming at you with another episode where we go over our listeners' submissions, because, wow, I just put it out on Twitter and Instagram and stuff and said, hey, if anyone's got any stuff, send it along. And you guys definitely did. With collections that put our stuff to shame. But
so maybe that's why I wanted a separate episode, so we don't look bad, right?
but you know what? Like, I got responses from I don't even know how many people, but nothing is like, I have a mint collection, a mint condition, blah blah blah. It's all like, here's something I had signed by someone, and this is how I met them, and a lot cooler stories than us, but also really interesting. There's nothing there that's like bragging about their mint condition first pressing of In Rock. It's all really, really interesting stuff. So I look forward to sharing that all with you in a future episode, which we'll probably record soon, but probably won't be out till maybe like the middle to end of August. We got a couple of special episodes planned for you coming up next. So, all right, with that, I'll bid you adieu. Until next week, my friend, when we get together for a very, very special episode. What could it be? Nobody knows.
Believe it or not, I'm not home.
How is that one of those answering machine messages? What were some of the other ones? Remember?
I don't know.
That's great.
I don't know what made me think of that.
Yeah, they used to have these answering machine messages that like had like parody songs about not being home and leaving a message.
Yeah. Well, that one was from Seinfeld, so.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, but because you said, what could it be?
What could it be? There was
they had those. They had those. Oh God, I love those things. Those stupid cassettes that had like, you could just. I don't even remember. You just you play them into your answering machine, and it was like, I don't know. They were ridiculous. They were like novelty messages. But then my parents' friends would call and be like, "Is this even the right number?" And then my parents would be like, "Take that shit off the answering machine."
Oh, that's great. Yeah, there was a lot of those.
Yeah,
I bet Peter Gardeau's got some in his basement that he's gonna send some pictures of, or he's probably gonna rip them for us. So.
Oh, that would be great. Don't disappoint us, Peter.
I know you got them. All right, everybody. Well, we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple Podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also give us a rating on iTunes to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.